did so famously, so effectively 85 years ago. There were relatively low expectations from the Admiralty, from military planners about the success of this mission, but it absolutely exceeded any expectations it had in the first place. It was an extraordinary event, not just for the lives that it saved, for bringing that huge force back to the UK, back to safety, to fight on later in the war. But it was also a great morale boost for the British public, of course, who are just coming to terms with life during wartime. To look out and see these little ships heading across the channel once again, it makes an extraordinary sight, and it really is a fitting tribute to the efforts, to the heroism of 85 years ago.
Every kind of small craft, destroyers, paddle steamers, yachts, motorboats, railboats, have sped here to the burning ruins of Dunkirk.
It was a desperate time that called for a desperate measure. But the evacuation of Dunkirk, thanks to the little ships, saw almost 340,000 men rescued from the shores of northern France, when mission planners thought they could only save 45,000. Matt Kane now owns one of the boats that was used to rescue his grandfather.
My grandfather used to tell me the stories of Dunkirk. I know a lot of veterans didn't like to do that, but my grandfather did talk to me about it a lot. So in terms of my father and I, it was always a huge ambition to be able to do this.
Here in one staggering shot, the Allied armies come out from the shore.
850 craft of all shapes and sizes were recruited or requisitioned after an appeal by the Admiralty via the BBC. The ingenious part of the plan was that the little ships, as they were called, could get in close to the shoreline around Dunkirk, where Allied troops were trapped with their backs against the channel by the advancing German forces.
And the tiny boats ploughing between the big ships and the shore.
Men were then transferred onto larger vessels for the journey home. The bigger the boat, the more men they carried. Challenge, a tug, was skippered by Charlie Parker.
In Ramsgate today, it's all part of commemorations to mark the 85th anniversary of the Dunkirk evacuation, known as Operation Dynamo. Well, the World War II mission was the biggest evacuation in military history. It took 9 days. 1,000 ships, including pleasure craft and fishing vessels, were sent to rescue stranded troops who were surrounded by Nazi forces. Around 338,000 soldiers made it back to England. And this week, as Simon Jones reports, nearly 70 of those ships involved will sail from Ramsgate to recreate that historic journey across the Channel.
Ship shape and
Quizzy.
preparing for the 85th anniversary. The little ships have arrived in Ramsgate, bringing with them the history of what was described as the miracle of Dunkirk.
Every kind of small craft, destroyers, paddle steamers, yachts, motorboats, railboats, have sped here to the burning ruins of Dunkirk.
It was 85 years ago that the call went out for owners of pleasure craft to join the effort led by the Royal Navy to help bring soldiers back to Kent by donating their ships.
Here in one staggering shot, the Allied armies come out from the shore.
The Allied forces had been driven into a small pocket around Dunkirk by the advancing German army. Without a swift evacuation, they faced capture and death. Matt Kane now owns one of the little ships that was part of the operation that rescued his grandfather, George. He says it's vital to remember.
My grandfather used to tell me the stories of Dunkirk. I know a lot of veterans didn't like to do that, but my grandfather did talk to me about it a lot. So in terms of my father and I, it was always a huge ambition to be able to do this.
A total of 66 little ships will set off from Ramsgate heading to Dunkirk early on Wednesday, weather permitting. The journey will take around 10 hours, and it's certainly going to be an emotional one.
Ships used to rescue soldiers from the beaches of France in 1940 have arrived in Ramsgate. It's part of commemorations to mark the 85th anniversary of the Dunkirk evacuation. 1,000 ships, including pleasure craft and fishing vessels, were sent to rescue stranded troops who were surrounded by Nazi forces. Well, Simon Jones is in Ramsgate, where the preparations are underway. Simon?
Yeah, 66 of the little ships are due to head off from Ramsgate over to Dunkirk on Wednesday, weather permitting. The journey likely to take 8 to 10 hours, but it's going to be very emotional. Let's talk now to the owner of one of the ships, Matt Kane. You've got a family link to all this.
I do. My grandfather, a Manxman, was part of the BEF in 1939 to go over, and he was evacuated on a Belgian fishing boat in 1940. So yeah, very emotional for us.
Why is it important that we remember this event all this time on?
Well, it was a pivotal point of the war, even so early. We were under immense pressure with our army, the bulk of it in France, and we needed to get them home. And it was a combination of many things, many people, and it helped us fight on. So it's immensely important we remember this.
And you're going to be taking part on Wednesday, hopefully, weather permitting. How does it feel to be making that journey that your relative, it was so important for him?
Absolutely. I did a return with my grandfather in 1990 for the 50th. It was a time that we looked at the little ships and thought, we've got to do this ourselves in honour. I found a Manx boat, my father and I, and we've taken this long to restore. We didn't go back into 2020 for obvious reasons when we were first going to do it. So it's been a long time building up, and it will be very emotional. I do have the great-granddaughter of the captain of the ship that my boat was on with me. So again, emotions running wild.
Thank you very much for joining us. Well, certainly an amazing sight here in the harbour. Lots of people coming down to take a look.
It's going to be a poignant week. Simon in Ramsgate, thank you. Now.